Hello guys, and welcome to another prediction. A lot of you guys wanted me to create a prediction about the possible box office run of Star Wars The Last Jedi, and since the very first trailer is now out, I think it's finally time to talk about the probably biggest box office giant from the year 2017. Well, let's begin with a look back on The Force Awakens and Rogue One, so we can get a sense of where the box office might of the Star Wars franchise is sitting right now. Most likely everybody who watched this video is aware of the fact that The Force Awakens shattered all expectations back in 2015. At least from my point of view, most hyped movie I ever witnessed in my lifetime, opened to an unbelievable $248 million, setting records for the midnight gross, the first day gross, the overall opening weekend and multiple other records. It took the movie only 20 days, a total of under 3 weeks, to break Avatar's all-time domestic record and take the crown in the North American box office market. When The Force Awakens finished its run after a total of 168 days, its final box office tally stood at $936.6 million in the domestic market and at $1.132 billion in the overseas market, for a combined worldwide gross of $2.068 billion. It destroyed the old domestic record from Avatar by $176 million, collected the 4th highest gross ever in overseas territories and the 3rd highest gross worldwide, just behind James Cameron's giants Titanic and Avatar. A little side fact: when you just take the original run of Titanic, The Force Awakens would have finished second behind Avatar. So all in all, The Force Awakens was the biggest box office juggernaut since Avatar, and a run that probably all people who witnessed it will never forget. Now, with this very successful performance behind its back, the Star Wars franchise seemed unbeatable, and I heard a lot of you guys talk about Star Wars maybe taking the box office crown for at least 2015, 2016, 17, 18 and 19. To be fair, to assume that Star Wars will be the untouchable franchise for the next few years was actually quite realistic. With $2.068 billion collected, The Force Awakens sits over $500 million ahead of the next biggest franchise, and from those franchises, most people think to witness a decreasing trend when it comes to box office numbers in the future. Another year passed, and just a few months ago, 1 year after The Force Awakens, Rogue One, a Star Wars story, was unleashed in cinemas all over the world. As I'm writing this prediction, Rogue One sits at $1.034 billion worldwide on its 47th day of release, $521 million out of the domestic market and $513 million out of the overseas territories. While the domestic performance is actually quite in line with the numbers most people predicted for Rogue One, the overseas performance sits 150 to 200 million behind most expectations. Rogue One has taken the box office crown of 2016. So we have 2 Star Wars movies on top in a row when it comes to the domestic market. But Rogue One will finish as just the 2nd highest grossing movie worldwide of 2016. Civil War grossed $1.153 billion worldwide and will stay on top with this gross. This fact is the hard reality. What does that tell us? First of all, the Star Wars franchise is not unbeatable. Second, the hype surrounding The Force Awakens was a once-in-a-lifetime event, and future Star Wars movies will not reach that hype level whatsoever will be featured in it. Third, while the Star Wars movies, which are not part of the Skywalker saga, are still box office monsters, they are playing not in the same league with the big episode titles. Contra-arguments for those points are: Civil War is the much bigger movie in direct comparison. Civil War was considered by most people as The Avengers 2.5 and not as Captain America 3. While Rogue One was far away from being considered as close to an episode title. Also, while Rogue One received very good reviews, they were worse than the reviews that Force Awakens received, and also worse than the reviews Civil War received. So, all in all, it's probably fair to assume that when you put a Civil War and a Rogue One next to each other with the exact same quality and the exact same importance, Rogue One would probably win. But it would just win by a small margin, so not unbeatable at all. Just think about this for a second. If Rogue One would have been released in 2015, It would have finished as the 6th highest grossing movie worldwide and as the 2nd highest grossing movie in the domestic market. I can just say it again, it's not unbeatable. Now, with all of that in mind, let's talk about Star Wars The Last Jedi. Which points are working in favor of The Last Jedi's run? The Force Awakens was loved by an enormous amount of people, and Rogue One was also liked extremely much by a lot of people. With 2 very good received movies behind its back, The Last Jedi definitely has the momentum behind its back. To be honest, there's actually no argument which speaks against an absolute dominant performance of The Last Jedi. The only thing a few people might say is that people are getting tired of Star Wars movies, but that is just nonsense. Maybe we can talk about this point in 2 or 3 years, but right now everything works perfectly for Disney and the brand Star Wars. Just think about all positive points that I count in other predictions, and all of these factors also strike for The Last Jedi. With that being said, let's start with the pessimistic prediction on The Last Jedi. Let's assume for a moment that Rian Johnson is not delivering a good quality with The Last Jedi. Let's say somewhere in the high 60s or low 70s on Rotten Tomatoes. In this very disappointing scenario for The Last Jedi, the movie will fall far below the gross of The Force Awakens, but still outgross Rogue One, and probably also take the domestic box office crown of 2017. In this scenario, The Last Jedi will open with $179 million in the domestic market, the 2nd highest opening weekend from December, just behind the opening weekend of The Force Awakens and 24 million ahead of Rogue One's opening. The Force Awakens finished its run with a multiplier of 3.77. Rogue One is very likely to finish its domestic run with a multiplier of around 3.5. So given the fact that this is a Skywalker saga movie and not a standalone movie like Rogue One, I would give The Last Jedi the same multiplier like Rogue One, even though the quality would be worse in this scenario. So, with a final multiplier of 3.5 in the domestic market, The Last Jedi would finish its domestic performance with a total of $626.5 million. With this gross, Star Wars Episode 8 would sit on 5th place on the domestic all-time list and would push the Avengers from 2012 out of the top 5. When it comes to overseas territories, I think The Last Jedi will gross way more than Rogue One and will finish with $789 million there. Combined, this would sum to a worldwide total of $1.415.5 billion worldwide. With this, The Last Jedi would sit on 7th place when it comes to the all-time worldwide list, and the movie would probably also sit on 1st place worldwide from all releases of 2017. And all of that in the pessimistic prediction. Now, let's continue with the realistic prediction. Let's say The Last Jedi matches the quality of Rogue One. Well, in this scenario, I can see The Last Jedi to challenge Jurassic World for the 4th spot on the worldwide all-time list. In this scenario, The Last Jedi will open with $193 million, and after a multiplier of 3.55, will finish its domestic run with a total of $685.15 million. 3rd all time, just behind The Force Awakens and Avatar. On the overseas front, I see The Last Jedi to collect a total of $940 million, for a combined worldwide gross of $1.625.150 billion. With that, The Last Jedi would finish just 45 million behind Jurassic World on the all-time worldwide list and would push the Avengers from 2012 out of the top 5 worldwide. With this gross, The Last Jedi would have the 2017 worldwide crown safe for 100%. No other movie will gross north of $1.6 billion this year. Now to the optimistic prediction. When everything falls into perfect place for The Last Jedi, when the movie receives the highest acclaim it can possibly get and the Star Wars franchise witnesses the same situation like it did with The Empire Strikes Back in 1980, that the sequel was considered to be of greater quality than the first installment of the trilogy, then The Last Jedi will gross north of $1.8 billion, but will not come close to the domestic gross or overseas gross of The Force Awakens. In this scenario, The Last Jedi will open with $210 million and after a multiplier of 3.6 will finish its domestic run with a total of $756 million. On the overseas side, The Last Jedi will collect a total of $1.06 billion. Combined, this will put the worldwide gross of Star Wars Episode 8 at $1.8 $816 billion worldwide. With this, The Last Jedi would sit on 4th place worldwide all time and on 3rd place domestic of all time, behind Avatar, Titanic and The Force Awakens when it comes to the worldwide gross, and behind The Force Awakens and Avatar when it comes to the domestic market. When this scenario takes place, Episode 9 could have the potential to outgross The Force Awakens and to also outgross Titanic worldwide. While The Last Jedi does not have the potential to do that, it would lead the way for Episode 9. The next video will be a surprise prediction. No choices for you this time, but next time I will give you 3 titles to choose from as always. Thank you so much for watching this video, guys. I really hope you liked it. If so, be sure to hit the like and subscribe button, since it would really help out this channel big time. Also, when you like to ask me questions or discuss this topic with me more in detail, leave a comment and I will answer you as soon as possible. Also, when you want to, check out Game of Box Office on Twitter and Facebook. See you soon, guys. More videos to come. Bye bye.